Happy Saturday. Greetings. Lovely. Gratitude. Knowing. I'm broadcasting to you this Saturday morning from the historic Fairmont Hotel here at the top of the hill of San Francisco. And I'm here primarily because I had a rich VIP day with a client yesterday. And it was not my plan to host this marathon today. It was not the plan. And when she and I completed, and I came back here to my suite, I was so full. And a natural consequence of being full is spilling over, giving, being, abundant enough to really give from a place of overflow. And so, as a woman, as a Black woman, as a magician, as a thought leader, as a woman who's been endowed, a woman who's been endowed with powers and knowings and abilities, I felt so compelled to come here and and I decided to split it into 3 because these videos can get really long, and my goodness, And also give myself, time to pause and rest, reflect. And so today's topic is the original power of Black women. The original power of Black women. I have a gorgeous view in front of me, by the way, so my eyes may be going. Matter of fact, I'll show you what my view is. That's my view. So it's so beautiful. Like, how do I make this a regular? Well, actually, there's something else. So that's the topic now. The next video starts at 10 a.m., which is an hour from now, and that will be about, anyway, I don't have it here in front of me. Or do I? No, I don't. And the third one will be at 11 a.m., and that'll be about the spirit of highness required to birth your signature work in the world. The spirit of highness required to birth your signature work in the world. And 10 a.m. is about fighting for relevance. That's what it's about. It's about who will be the people who will be respected, known, and paid, particularly those of us who are changing things. What's required and who those people will be is 10 a.m. Right now, the original power of Black women. The original power of Black women. So there is, so before I go any further, I want to preface what I'm about to say with this. Much of what Black women and women at large, Black women and women at large, okay? When I say I mean all other women. Much of what we possess as far as our power, much of our accomplishments, much of our influence from the past, I'm talking about centuries and centuries ago, and even up until recently, but much of what we have influenced, much of what we have led, much of what we have contributed to, much of what we have created, much of our power, we actually have not been informed about. The stories that have been written are just a fraction. So all the stories you've written in history about different women, the founder of the birth control pill, the suffrage movement of Britain, the first African pharaoh, female African pharaoh, like any story you could think of a woman in our history is just a fraction of the influence women have had in our history. I share this to say much of what I know, much of what you know, whether you allow yourself to know it and then to express it or not, you know it because it was transmitted to you through DNA, through blood, through collective consciousness, because it's not in a book anywhere. It hasn't been translated and transferred to now. What was happening with women in the 1500s, in the 1200s, 1100s, much of what was going on at that time is written by men. And there are countless records of men entirely deleting and destroying where they can the accomplishments of women, and then rewriting the story, totally obliterating women's presence in the story. Which means much of the power that is required for you and I to tap into, and the black part, I'm going to get to that in a moment, much of what is required for us to tap into, like the real root of it, comes from your knowing. It can only at a root level come from your knowing because it's nowhere to be found. Like in the external world, it's in no books, it's in no songs, it's in no text, it's nowhere to be found because it was removed, ignored, deleted by men. And whatever women supported them at that time out of fear, right? And therefore, much of this, this anxiety that we have about coming forward with things that we know, but there's no evidence of. This fear, this terror that we feel to come forward, and this way that we've mastered the ability to not know. We've mastered the ability to do the dance of yes, no. We've mastered the ability of doubt. We've mastered the ability of pretending like we don't know. We've mastered the ability of playing second class. And so this is what has been the experience for all women. I don't care what class you're of, what ethnic group you're from. This is the reality for women, what we have inherited. Then isolate black women from that, okay? Did you know that the first female pharaoh ever, first of all, there's so much, and I'm doing my best to keep it right here on the ground and give it to you in a way that you can receive it. First of all, the first female pharaoh ever, Africa, right? That's where we all started. Do you know she took the throne? She wasn't appointed. Now, this is what was written. What about every other woman and the groups of women thereafter, right? So this alone is an indicator about who black women are. First of all, we are the original humans. Like, really, take that in. No other group could exist. No other group could exist. And here's the thing. These are things that we are required to remember because this world that I live in never acknowledges the original power of me. The original power of you as a black woman, if you're black watching this. Asian women, white women, Latin women, British women, white, Hawaiian women, Indian women, Australian women, Southeast Asian women, Russian women, Canadian, I'm just breaking it down, these are facts. None of these groups could exist if there were not African people first. And I say African because there's, African, black, not colored, but whatever word could be used to describe a black person, right? Indigenous, Um, so I think it's easy to discount that. I have discounted that. Being the original power, being a descendant of the original people, and the effort that was taken by the Neanderthals of the day, okay, the white people of those times, because African empires were standalone, separate. Remember, this was a totally different time. Okay, there were no phones. There was no way to see what somebody else was doing on the internet, and right. And so, Africans had empires that were thriving, and white folks were off in a whole other land, whole other country doing their thing, and ended up finding, and remember, these are in history books. There are a lot of lies in history books. These are the stories that are in history books. I know a master who knows that things did not go the way history books tell us they went, as far as how Roman Empire, not Roman, but how African empires came down. Because I always was like, how could such strong fortresses come down? Like, how did that happen? Considering what the story has been, that, okay, this could get really long, right? So let me be mindful, okay? Thank you. With this knowing that as a Black woman, you are the original human, you are the original power source, that the first pharaoh, which is typically given to a male, right, was African. She took it. Why did she even have to take it, right? She took it. There's a place for taking things. When you know something is yours, there's a place for taking it. Bringing that to 2019, it is now time for women, Black women, to take their place. Not only as original power sources, but as this gives me a power that people who don't have it don't have. This is a fact. We must fight the cognitive dissonance. When I say fight, I don't mean the typical warrior. Well, look, you will have to fight the way your spirit calls you to fight. What I'm saying is the real fight doesn't come from in this instance that I'm talking about, does not come from an aggressive pushing state. It comes from knowing who you are and living who you are. I cannot stress this enough. Knowing who you are and living who you are. Knowing who you are, living who you are. This is the only way that you're going to do the work that you're called to do. This is not cute and like empowerment. Like, this is God work. When you are born to birth a thing as a Black woman, as a melanated, darkly melanated being, and you know you are called. You're not wondering, hoping, what's my purpose, right? But you walk around with this pulsating knowing that you're meant to do whatever the thing is. That's between you and God. The only way you can bring that thing to life is by knowing who you are and walking the path of who you are. And here's the thing, and I know this is hard. My heart goes out for myself, and then it goes out for every other woman, because so many stories have been rewritten. There have been so many lies. There's been countless stories of men destroying what women have done, and then in the last several centuries, how they have actively destroyed what black women have done, ignored what black women have done, negatively talked about what black women have done. And it is recent. So not only do we have centuries and centuries ago, of the destruction of African empires, women at large, but then we have recent, countless incidents of men actively destroying the contributions of women and black women. There is a 4-part series called The Descent of Woman. I strongly recommend you watch it. It was on Netflix. I don't know why it's not on Netflix. Last time I checked, it was not on Netflix. I don't know if they were going through a licensing thing and maybe it's back there. You can go and check. It's called The Descent of Women, and it's a 4-part series. And you can Google it too, because it was also, she also had a website. And I remember when I couldn't find it on Netflix, I went to a website and I contacted what looked to be her PR company to inquire about it. And I didn't hear back, but I only tried one time. I contacted them one time. But try Netflix first and see if there's another place to find it, The Descent of Woman. In The Descent of Woman, she talks about different stories in the past where men have taken concerted effort to destroy the contributions of women and have punished women. This is another thing that I know that we deal with, which is why we must be amongst each other. And really being amongst those of us who are playing, because there are those of us who just want to sit at the hem of, but don't really want to play. And what I know about those who are not playing, who just sit among the hem of us, those are the ones who oftentimes will attempt to overthrow or hurt the ones who are really playing, because the real commitment is not there. So anyway, my real intent here today is to start to wake up that part of you that knows that you are the original power, and to have you seek out other women who are playing at this level of knowing who they are and unapologetically living her. Unapologetically feeding your vision with who you are, unapologetically having meetings, bringing forth team, reaching out to people as the original power source. The world is so hungry for this right now. So incredibly hungry. So a few things as a reminder. The Descent of Woman. So The Descent of Woman, Netflix, check there. If you can't find it there, Google it, The Descent of Woman. You can also see some clips on YouTube, The Descent of Woman. It is so educational, informative. What it will do is it will confirm things that you know. It will inspire you. It will make you proud. So, The Descent of Woman, go check that out. The name of the first female pharaoh in Africa, her name is Hatshepsut. She ruled from 1473 to 1458, and her name means foremost of noble women. Okay? Hatshepsut. That's spelled Hatshepsut. And she took the throne. It is our time to take. When you know, you take it. When you know, you take it. Okay? So go watch The Descent of Woman. Go do some research on Hatshepsut. And you know what's interesting? As I say that Hatshepsut, I studied Mandarin in the 5th grade. And this sounds very closely to a Mandarin word. And you know, Mandarin words. And you know, well, if you don't know, you're going to know now, is that the first place that humans migrated from as Africans left, right? Remember, there was no Thailand and China and UK and Spain and Italy and France and the United States and Hawaii and Canada. None of that, south of this and that, none of that existed before Africa. Africa was here first, right? And then people started to migrate. And one of the first places they migrated was China, what is now known as China. It wasn't China at the time, but it became known as China. The people formed it. And Hatshepsut, that name, the first female pharaohs of Africa, Hatshepsut, sounds like Mandarin. Right? When you start to think about language. See, and this is why it's so important for us to really tap into higher intelligence, because none of this stuff is destroyed in the universal plane. Like men have crushed and destroyed and conquered things. Those on the physical plane, they can be conquered, but that which is of higher intelligence and that which operates on higher laws can never be destroyed. So it's just transmitted. And so, for example, this is how you say, in Chinese, Mandarin, the numbers from 1 to 10 are yet, yi, sam, say, lok, chat, bat, gao, sup. And then from 11 to 12 is yet, yi, ga, sup, yet, sup, yi, sup, sam, sup, say, sup, sup, luk, sup, chat, sup, bat, some, gao, yi, sup. Hatshepsut, this African, just listen to the connections. Hatshepsut. Hatshepsut. That is the name of the first African female pharaoh. The numbers in Chinese are yet, yi, sam, say, lok, chat, but, gao, sup, sup, yet, sup, yi, sup, sam, sup, say. So you see there is a transference. This is why it's so important that we tap into our knowing and know that there's so much more than the books tell us. So now a bit I want to say here before I move on is that this willingness, and my client and I, we discussed this during her VIP day yesterday, is how terrifying it can be to, this is so, what I'm talking about here is not talked about anywhere, okay? I am on the fringes because I'm dealing in truth. I'm dealing in what I know that I know that I know. This is of the highest, purest intelligence. To know a thing, like for example, for you to have a thing that you know that isn't in any books, it's not in any song, it's not in any text, it's not in any parables, and it's only in you. And you got instruction from God to bring that to the world, right? And you move about to bring that to the world as signature to you. That is a terrifying thing. And what we have are a bunch of women, a bunch of Black women, the original power source, who are terrified to bring forth their signature work to the world because it is not in the book, because they don't see any other respected person loudly talking about it, because they don't see it in mainstream media, because they don't see it anywhere. It's only in me and you. And when you live in a world, when I say I'm talking about you too, right? I prefer to speak in first person because it's where my greatest power is. When I say you, when you do this or when we do this, that's less power. I'm sharing this with you so you can choose to speak in whatever way if you choose to be more powerful in your language. Living in a world that constantly sends messages that women, first of all, are not the most important voice, and 2, Black women are not the most important voice. 3, dark-skinned Black women are definitely not the most important voice. And simultaneously, I have this knowing in me that I am the original power source. This is what cognitive dissonance looks like. This is what cognitive dissonance looks like. And this is why it is so important for Black women who know that they are, knowing who you are, right? Who know that the original power source, who have already exhausted themselves with trying to beat the truth out of them, and ignore the call, ignore this vision that has been with them since they were 5 years old, 10 years old, right? And to now step into and take, just like Hatshepsut did when she took her position as the first female pharaoh of Africa. She took it. Nobody voted her in. There was no council. There was no voting. She took it. And there was prosperity under her reign. She reigned from 14. Wait a minute, these numbers are wrong. I put 14. Wait a minute. Hold on. That's backwards what I put here. Oh my goodness. She reigned between 1473 and 1453 BC. Okay, it was BC. That's what I BC. All right, so the numbers are transposed. That's why I'm like, wait a minute, how is that between? So it is 1473 and 1458, because you know it goes backwards when it's BC. And there was prosperity. Her rule was relatively, this is what they say, her rule was relatively peaceful, and she was able to launch a building program that would see the construction of a great temple at Deir el-Bahari at Luxor. So you can research her. So that is a fraction. That is a fraction. The value in being in my world, and the groups and the community that I'm gathering, as that we are tapping into this unknown, unresearched, well, it is known by the folks who have taken effort to destroy. This power of the original power of Black women that has not been tapped into, we are tapping into it. It's the only way that we're going to birth the thing. This marching shit, fine for people who feel called to march. I don't. I feel called to know who I am, be in my power source, and birth my thing from that place, okay? And I had been instructed to be a leader. And everything that's happened in my life over the last, particularly year, has prepared me to be here now. And so if you know, you're going to keep hearing me say this, if you know, not if you hope, or that sounds nice, or this is not nice. That sounds nice, or that would feel so good. But if you know that you are superior, not because you want to feel good, not because you got a low self-esteem, but you know this. This is not a debate. This is not, you're not looking for confirmation. You already know that you're of a superior class. And I don't even mean class in which this world talks about class. You are the original power source, regardless of what media says. Like, they can say whatever they want. That beating inside your soul is undeniable. Like, that doesn't lie. That never rests, right? It never rests, no matter what. No matter how much people slap you with data, no matter what people say, no matter what kind of treatment you get, no matter, the thing in your soul never fucking dies. It's always there. So I'm here to activate that. So I will say this before I go, because our next live is in 30 minutes. So I want to refresh myself for that. So 2019, we will have roundtables, invite-only roundtables. Think like the council, okay? Roundtable, the council. Select women who have been interviewed, who have submitted applications, who will get on a plane, who even make a decision to be of something so prestigious, to even make a decision to be a part of something so high, because they know that they have something to birth in the world, and they're done with doubt and this whole, well, yes, I am, but done with the dance of looking for permission, people pleasing, playing second class, never having enough, you know, just this world, like, don't get me started, right? Okay. 29, I just want to show you that view as I talk about this. We're going to be in Positano, and we're going to be in Saint-Tropez next year. We're going to have 2 round tables, one in Positano, one in Saint-Tropez next year, okay? Where we're going to have these round tables, a handful, a select group, 8 to 12 no more than 8 to 12, in these prestigious rooms where we will be discussing our businesses, our visions, our revenues, what's working, what's not working, the creative ways that we're going to be speaking our message, the ways that we're going to be collaborating, we're going to be sharing resources, we're going to be eating well, we're going to have staff taking very good care of us, we're going to dress well, we're going to travel in from wherever we are in the world to convene at these prestigious roundtables of prestigious and powerful women who know that they are original power source. And I want to be clear that while I am talking about Black women in this video and the original power source, non-Black women are also welcome, okay? So this is 8 to 12 women. It's an interview process and an application process. I trust that you get it. So if you would like to be interviewed, here's what's happening. Of the 8 to 10 spaces, we are providing incentive for the first 2. So the investment to be a part of this 8 to 10 roundtable is going to be over $10,000. For the first 2, fast action, for the first 2 who complete their interview process, their application, and enroll before January 1st, your admission will be $5,000. So you're gonna save over $5,000 by being a fast action taker, knowing, not hoping, wishing, wanting, praying, but knowing, and submitting your application, completing your interview process, which means you need to send an email today, because this is going to take some time and this would need to be done before January 1st, okay? So send an email to Naima@NaimaSingletary.com, Naima@NaimaSingletary.com, and say, I would like to have the interview, and we will send you the application so we can start the process and get you in for an interview for next week, see if you're a good fit, and if you are, we will finalize everything with payment, $5,000. Okay, for the first 2 who complete this process before January 1st. Otherwise, the admission will be over $10,000, okay? So this is what you get for showing up here today, being a fast action taker, and completing the process and completing your payment if you're approved. Obviously, we find all this out if you're a good fit in the application and in the interview process, which is a voice interview process, okay? So there's a written application, and then there's getting on the phone to complete the voice interview, okay? So that's that. I want you to go research The Descent of Woman. Go to Netflix first, Descent of Woman. I don't recall if it's women or woman, but go look that up on Netflix. If it's gone, because it was gone last time I checked, but sometimes stuff comes and it goes because of licensing stuff they have going on, go to Google and search for it. And also go to YouTube and search for it. It's a 4-part series, okay? Then go research Hatshepsut. Her name is spelled Hatshepsut. Her name means foremost of noble women. She was the first female pharaoh of Africa. So ever, okay? And she took the throne. And it's now time for us to take our own thrones, all right? So I'll be back here in about 25 minutes. The topic, I don't know if verbatim, but it's something about who is going to be revered and paid well by their favorite clients and really have their signature message out in the world in 2019. Who will that be and what does it take? That is the topic, 25 minutes. I'll be back here live. Lots of love, and I welcome your comments. I'll be coming back here checking for, actually, you know what I realized? I just remembered this. Somehow I'm not able to see, like if you talk now, I can't see it. But if you leave a comment, I can see it. So I welcome your comments, okay? Lots of love, and I'll see you in about 25 minutes.